Awesome.
Take it away.
Cool. Thank you so much, Alex. And thank you everyone for joining us today. As mentioned, for anyone of those who may not know me, my name is Ashley Scorpio. I am the VP of Partnerships at Hawke Media. We are a full service digital marketing agency and your outsourced CMO. At Hawke, I focus primarily on partnerships. As Alex mentioned, we are a team actually of 8 today and growing. We do have about 2,000 partners, and we typically add between 40 and 50 new partners every month. That is across 9 different primary categories. Of course, we are focusing the conversation today, as Alex mentioned, specifically on agency partnerships, not only on-site agency, how you build out your agency partner program, but also as an agency, how you partner with other agencies. I'm going to keep it conversational, very keen for any questions or interactions you might have. So feel free to pop anything into the chat at any time, and I will address it over the course of our conversation today. So I have now built out 2 partner programs from the bottom up. So a couple of moons ago, pre-Hawke, I was actually the first ever head of partnerships at Wpromote. Also built out that program from 0 to 400 partners in 18 months as well. I've been here at Hawke now in this role for the past 2 years. Beyond focusing on our partner program and building out the team internally, as well as evangelizing and supporting our partners internally and externally, I also sit on our core executive team. So partnerships is such a big part of our business at Hawke Media that we look to integrate partners and bring them into every conversation and every part of the business, not only for their benefit, but of course also for our clients' benefits. So there's many different things I think that are important when it comes to building out an agency partner program. First and foremost, I think it's important to understand what the needs and desired outcomes are for your partner program, right? What is the reason that you are deciding to undertake partnerships as a core, hopefully, function of your business? And so to that end, I think it's really important to first seek to understand before taking any action. So ask questions, especially of all of your internal stakeholders, to understand what their vision for partnerships is. If this is a new function or discipline of your agency, what way can partnerships integrate into existing core functions of your business and hopefully augment and supplement them? For example, if you're a service-based agency, are there partners that you can bring into the fold and into the conversation to augment the existing, let's say, managed services that you might be offering your clients? If you have great relationships, for example, with technology partners, which we mentioned, are there technologies and platforms that you can leverage in order to deliver better results for your clients, for example? Inversely, if you are an agency, even if you are a full service agency, are there perhaps other core areas of opportunity that other service providers and other agencies might be better suited to assist you and your clients with, whether that is in a referral or a white label capacity? That's also something that's important to think about. Not only are there different types of partners, different partner categories, there's also different types of partnerships in the sense of the relationship. So are you just having a mutually beneficial co-marketing relationship? Are you having a referral-based relationship? Are you seeking to white label for them, or are they seeking to have you white label for them? It could be a two-way street, or it could be one or the other, depending on the needs of your and their clients. In addition to that, there are also reseller relationships, right? That's typically between an agency and a technology partner, but to be clear, there's an entire plethora of the different types of partnerships that you might have. Now, if you're starting from scratch, you might want to start a little bit smaller and more focused, not only with the number of partners that you launch your program with and hopefully scale it with over time and alongside, but also with the types of partnerships or partner models that are making the most sense for your business at that time. However, over time, you might then experiment with and expand into some of those other models that I touched on. So first and foremost, how do you set up your agency referral relationships? I think organization is a big part of it. After you've gathered and listened and hopefully had a lot of internal consultations with key stakeholders and understood from them what type of partners they're looking for, what partners they're already working with that you could augment or deepen the relationships with, how do you set them up for success? So first and foremost, one of the biggest part of partnerships are relationships and rapport. So you're going to want to have what we typically call a partner discovery meeting, right? You've been put in touch, either you've been introduced or the prospective partners reached out to you, or you've reached out to them, or you've been otherwise connected through your network or colleagues. So you're probably going to want to have an initial call to understand what the key value proposition is in working together and supporting each other. So first and foremost, you might want to have that conversation. You'll probably have a number of set questions you'll want to have in this initial conversation. One of the key things I think everyone should always ask a prospective new partner in this initial partner discovery call would be what their vision is for success in that partnership. Right? If you go into a conversation primarily thinking you're just looking for co-marketing support and another partner is primarily looking for a referral relationship, there might be a mismatch there. So it's extremely important to have a very open dialogue to understand what each party is hoping to get out of the relationship. So it's pretty key to understand what partnership success looks like with the prospective new partner you're thinking about working with. Now, when you're specifically thinking about setting up referral relationships, you also might want to consider incentives, right? What is the impetus for a third party to refer business to you and vice versa, other than hopefully delivering excellent service and offering to their clients and making them successful and making them even more sticky because presumably they're the ones that referred this client to you and you're hopefully delivering excellent results for their client, which should go without saying, but it's extremely important to ensure that your partner's clients are being well taken care of. So this is also something you might want to think about when you are structuring your service offering or even your standard onboarding or assignment process internally on the agency side is, are partner referrals handled differently? They probably should be. And if yes, in what way? And what level of, let's say, additional service or support or offering do any clients referred by partners receive? What additional benefit do they receive or level of offering, for example? So back to incentives for a minute, a lot of partners will offer a commission to their other agency partners, whether that is a straight rev share, whether it's in perpetuity, whether it's for the first 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whether it's a depreciating percentage. It's just something to think about. You should carefully consider what is in model for your agency and with your service margins based on your price points that will still lead to a successful and profitable long-term relationship for you, the partner, and the client. You want to try and make sure that any engagement is structured in a way that is a win-win-win for all three parties involved. I have many resources I can share. I can definitely give you all some docs after the fact. The most common types of models, as mentioned, would be co-marketing, referral, reseller, and white label. I would say the most common straightforward way to start, including between agencies to agency, is in a referral capacity, because it's a lot more straightforward, especially if this is your first foray into partnerships, because basically you, for the most part, are following your typical standard operating procedures that you would anytime you are working with an inbound, an outbound, or otherwise referral lead. The only difference might be, as mentioned, there might be that commission piece that you need to pay to your partner should the business close based on the terms that you've come to agree to or that you've offered them. And typically that's formalized in a partner agreement or a commission or rev share agreement. And then beyond that, the one thing, as mentioned, you probably want to have a slightly different operating procedure over time as you perhaps level up and expand your partner program, as how they're handled differently. For example, if we have an inbound lead here at Hawke Media, typically they then go to a specific subset of more of our junior sellers who need to then qualify the opportunity, right? And an opportunity that is inbound or outbound needs to have that additional qualifying step, perhaps before they speak to a more senior business development executive who are going to take them through the typical sales discovery process to scope and understand what the end client's needs are. Inversely, if a partner refers a prospect over to Hawke, they skip that step of the sales cycle and they go directly to a senior business development executive because they have been qualified either by the partner team or the partner. Of course, a big part of partnerships and referrals is partner enablement. So you want to ensure that you are providing collateral, education, information, and hopefully an open dialogue to your partners to either help them qualify referrals that they might send your way, or that they're armed with all the information that they need to do that. Because again, if this is let's say a warm introduction from a partner, the partner's already working with this client that, especially if it's an agency partner, they probably have a more involved service-based relationship. And so they are more keenly or hopefully acutely aware of what those clients' needs are. So of course, we don't want to waste anyone's time. And if we already know that they're coming from, let's say, another agency partner over, it's probably quite clear what they're looking for. And we want to skip that step for them and sort of move them right to the top of the line. Similarly, here at Hawke Media, we have a client success team. We actually have 2 tiers of our client success team. We have an enterprise pod for not only our bigger clients, but also our partner referred clients. Again, you want to ensure that anyone within your partner ecosystem is getting that extra level of care and customer service, right? And the reason is it's not just a one-off opportunity. The beauty of partnerships is if things hopefully go fabulously for all 3 parties involved in that win-win-win that I mentioned, you want to make sure that there is the opportunity for further business and referrals. The point of establishing that rapport and that relationship with the partner is not just one single opportunity. It is the ongoing opportunity across hopefully their entire book of business, right? So that is why you definitely want to consider whether you have specific account managers or client success managers or specific more senior business development executives who are more consultative that might specifically be the main touch points for anyone referred from your partner network. Of course, like I said, if you're just starting out, you might leverage the existing people and individuals that you have within your organization or even the same processes. However, over time, you might start to tweak or they might leapfrog over certain steps that other perhaps less qualified lead sources might take. The reason that's also important to note is it's not just about providing that higher level service, it's also down to the data, right? Obviously, listen to your data. Here at Hawke Media, for example, and I'm sure a lot of partner leaders see this across their own organizations, partner leads typically are a more qualified lead source. And of course, it depends on which type of partner they've come from, because it also varies across partner lead sources, but they usually have a higher close rate, a higher average order value, and there's often also that potential for co-selling with the partner. So in particular, if it's another agency partner sending their client to you for a specific service that you offer that either they do not offer or that they don't currently have bandwidth for at the time that they would like you to handle for their client, sometimes they're more engaged and involved in the sales process. Sometimes they join those sales calls and those sales discovery calls. Sometimes they even join the ongoing weekly calls and reports and touch points. Sometimes the teams coordinate directly with each other across agency partners, even when the client isn't in on every conversation, perhaps in the day-to-day. So those are just ways that agency partners together can deliver those superior results for their clients. So those are all things to think about and consider when you're setting up agency referral relationships. The other key piece of the puzzle, if you will, when you are setting up these agency referral relationships is your partner agreement, right? What is that key value proposition that you are hopefully offering and driving for each other? Is it that referral commission that we mentioned? Is it preferential pricing? for clients that a partner refers over to you so that it's more sticky for them with the original relationship with the referring partner? Is it the ability to co-market together and go to market together? Is it the ability to co-sell? Is it all of the above? There's a lot of different things you might think about doing. You also might have many different offers at different times. They also might be seasonal. They might also be specific offers that are only available to your partners and their referees that are otherwise not available more publicly. So that partner agreement is going to want to cover all of the different facets, areas, and engagements you're thinking about, including the structure of the partnership. If it's a white label partnership, you need a white label agreement. If it's going to be a waterfall, if it's going to be a more general agreement, you might want to have an MNDA in there, right? To make sure you can confidentially share sales and collateral. In addition to that, I did also touch on reseller. You might have a specific reseller agreement if they're going to resell your services, or for a technology partner, if you as an agency are going to resell a technology. So those are all things to think about. Before we get into a little bit more of how to find great referral partners, were there any questions specific to how to initially set up those referral relationships?
Any questions there? So finding them is one thing, activating them is another. So what do you start with? What is a good first step? How do you approach the partnership so it's not coming off one-sided? Like if I'm going to reach out to Ashley and try to form a partnership with her, I'm not just going to say, hey, I'm Alex and I'm with Partner Programs and I want to refer business back and forth. Of course, we're going to start with something, and the partnership itself is going to grow based on a shared project, typically shared customers. One thing I was about to share, but I didn't want to overdo the links in the chat, is our co-selling masterclass. You can take it for free. It's in the community, starting with something. So the idea is, you imagine like a Gantt chart. If you use Gantt chart, project management style, you want to have this bar with the first 3 months of the relationship that is a mutual gain. Something like Ashley and I were talking on podcast yesterday. You have a piece of a pie, or you have a pie, sorry. So the pie is the stuff that you and your partners bring together that forms the pie. Your goal is not to take things out of that pie. Your goal is to work with this partner to create a larger pie, to find new opportunity together. The stuff in the pie, your clients and my clients, those are going to go back and forth when the time is right, when you guys have trust and when you feel like it's a good time to make those referrals. You're not after that. You're going to Ashley with, hey, I want to create a new bunch of brand impressions for my agency. You work with these people and you do this. That's great. What I want to do is create something more together. Account mapping and co-selling is a great way just to start the attribution system for your partnership, just to see the Venn diagram of who you sell to, who I sell to, and who we both are selling to right now, to say, hey, we're actively pursuing about 50 of the same accounts. Let's talk about that later, but let's try to make that 50 grow into 100. If we're actively selling into 100 accounts in a year from now, we know that this partnership is valuable. It's working. Whatever we're doing is working. So let's talk about that. The first call, the first conversation that you like to have with partners. What does it look like for Hawke Media? For the main, I think we're here mainly talking about referral partnerships and potentially white labeling other agencies and services, or white labeling yourself. But let's talk first.
Sure. So let's talk about where to find them. And then once you found them, how that first conversation goes and how to start that relationship. So first and foremost, I would say where to find partners. Don't reinvent the wheel. Start first with who is already referring business to you. Look back and see, is it friends and family of current employees or founders? Is it current clients that have started, happy current clients that have already started sending their friends and family or business colleagues to you? So go and take a look, audit, and see where your existing business is coming from, what percentage of those are referrals, and who are those referees. I would then suggest approaching those existing referrers off the bat and offering them additional incentives. If you can, retroactively, hey, we saw you refer this, we know we don't have a partner agreement in place. We would like to extend this to you. If you're interested in a commission, let us know. It's a great way to start the relationship, especially if it's unexpected. If you're not in a position to do that, you might reach out to them and say it's something you'd be happy to honor going forward. So something else to consider. And then similarly, if you have some of these awesome, hopefully super connectors in your network that are either already existing happy clients or others connected to your organization that are willing to send you business, perhaps they're also willing to send you other partners. So they might either do it just because they're awesome out of the goodness of their heart, or you might want to consider offering them what you might call a waterfall agreement. So perhaps there is a partner who refers a partner who refers a prospect, as opposed to just a partner who refers a prospect. And perhaps your waterfall agreement ensures that this partner receives a commission for referring this partner who received who referred the prospect. So for example, let's say your standard referral commission is 10% in perpetuity for anyone who refers closed business to you. So instead, a waterfall agreement might be 2% for the partner who referred the partner who receives 8% who referred the prospect. For example, that's another way of splitting up that overarching 10% commission that you might be working with, or it might stack on top if you have more flexibility in your margins. So something else to think about after you've sort of already exhausted, have we engaged? Do we have an employee referral program set up? Do we have a client referral program set up? Do we want to go and delve into who else from our network, who's connected to us, who's referred to us? And then having them refer other people who can refer. Once you've exhausted all of those efforts, the next thing I would suggest is look at the ecosystem that you play in. The often best basis for a partnership, other than enthusiasm, hopefully, is sort of the Venn diagram of here's you and your business and organization, here's the partner, and ideally, here's the overlap in audience that you have of your ideal customer or your current client base. So for example, if you know that, let's say you only work with e-commerce merchants in the Shopify space, maybe a great place to find other businesses or agencies that work with e-commerce merchants in the Shopify space would be Shopify's partner directory. They have a massive ecosystem. Why don't you go poke around in there and see who else is focusing on that subset, or even a more narrow market segment, which might be the size of company or business that you're looking to support or work with, and start reaching out to them. You might want to think about an outbound or an outreach campaign, similar to how you might do business development for prospects on the sales side. You might do this on the partner side for partners. You might even have a specific individual who does this beyond a partner manager, like a partner development representative, similar like you might have a business development representative on the sales side. So I would definitely think about what other communities, associations, or ecosystems are you going to find alignment with other prospective partners that have that great overlap in who your ideal client or customer is, or might be, right? If you're also expanding and pushing the envelope of where you currently play in the marketplace. So I think that's a great place to find referral partners, whether those are individual referral partners or whether those are other agencies. Another great place to find referral partners would be any sort of professional association, whether that's a marketing association, if you are a marketing agency, whether that is a local chamber of commerce. Remember, I mentioned we work across many different categories. We have over 9 different primary categories of partners. Think outside the box. We work with some government organizations and agencies that are excellent referral partners because they have whole ecosystems of brands and businesses that they support and they fund and that they work with. So I would challenge you to think about who else touches my ideal customer and market segment, and how can I get in front of them and build a relationship with them? And similar to that, how to start the relationship, I would say it's all about not just that enthusiasm that I mentioned, but adding value. right? What can you bring to the table for that potential partner that you are looking to start a relationship with to make it mutually beneficial? You're not just looking to extract value from a potential new partner, you're looking to add value. And similarly, if you are interested in referrals, perhaps your partner is also interested in referrals. So we talked a little bit about process that you might want to create or optimize in-house. You might want to create a process to ensure you are also making reciprocal, qualified referrals and warm introductions to your partners, which is why you want to also gather collateral from them. You want to also understand their ICP. You then want to turn around and evangelize and educate your internal colleagues and stakeholders on all of those bits of information. You should consider yourself an extension of yourself if you have support on the partner side and function as a partner team to be evangelists, internal evangelists for your partners and educators, and constantly trying to keep your partners top of mind for the rest of your organization internally to ensure your partners are also feeling the love and benefit of working with you. So those are just other things to think about when you are setting up your agency referral program. Are there any questions about where to find partners or how to start the relationship?
Questions? Otherwise, I'm going to talk. Leave Ashley. Let her get a sip of water. That was really good. So, okay, so let's talk about finding partners. Yes, I think the real question in there is not where to go online. I think we all know where to go, but actively looking at potential partners and finding entry points to that conversation, maybe. I'm just trying to feel out that question a little bit more. So you can go to LinkedIn, you can search SEO, and you can filter by marketing and advertising, and you can sort by whatever and see a bunch of people. And those people are employees at other agencies. Some of them you can sort by title and see founders. Great. So you're there, or maybe you're in the Shopify partner directory or HubSpot partner directory, and you grab the company name, you go back to LinkedIn, but you're on a page that has people that you think are going to be good partners. Now, the strategy that we tell the tech companies, which works for agencies as well, is you don't reach out with, hey, I'd love to partner. This is our agency. We do all this great work, and here's all of our awards and 5 stars on Clutch and yada, yada, yada. Don't do that. What you do instead is you start with a very specific vertical or keyword or something that you want to break into, or even logos. Start with a logo. Say, I want Coca-Cola's business, or I want whatever's business, right? And then you look through some keyword searches and you find some agencies that potentially work with Coca-Cola for some way, shape, or form, right? That's going to take a little bit more, or would like to in some way, shape, or form. But what you want to do is narrow it down to a very specific thing that you want to do. And you find a list of agencies that you think also want to do that same thing. Then you pool your resources, your ammunition. What do you have? Okay, well, eventually I have referrals that I can offer this agency, but you don't start with that. You start with, okay, well, I'm a good creative agency. I've got a big email list. I've got a good social following. Or maybe you don't have a big following, you don't have a big list, but you're a very creative person and you have a great designer, or you have a great videographer, or maybe you're just willing to hire that type of person. Well, you come to those agencies on that specific list with the opportunity, which is, hey, I'm trying to get into this. And I think you may be too. If you are also, this is what I want to suggest that we do together to go ahead and help each other get into whatever that is. And again, it could be targeting a keyword that's pretty broad, but it could be working with specific brands, logos. It could be going into a new vertical. But what you want to do is bring the idea to the table and don't make it vague. Be pretty specific. Like, I have a budget of this. I have these people to help us put it together. I have X, Y, and Z, and this is what I'm thinking the concept should be. Or if you have the concept ironed out, great. Then what I would do is, before you start outreach, go to your tech partners, go to HubSpot, go to Shopify, go to the apps, probably not those two, but some of the apps that plug into those, and get them in on the campaign and say, hey, can you bring some of your market development funds to this? My objective is to go and partner with some other agencies. And if you're involved, I'm going to bring you with me into those conversations. You're going to be one of the co-sponsors of whatever it is. I think Wistia and their soapbox campaign, I'll try to find a link for that, was an unbelievable example of this. They had this really awesome videography box set up that you could build, and you could use that to create a nice desk video space. I have it on my desk that's portable. You can bring it all around. That wasn't what was cool. What they did is they went to top videography agencies and got them in on the campaign. And they promised them a bunch of exposure and did all this sort of stuff. But it was a really well executed campaign. The agencies involved loved it. So leave it back to Ashley. My proposal is narrow it down for someone who just joined. Narrow your campaign. So you're about to reach out to potential referral partners. Narrow the campaign to one specific thing. Under that thing, if it's a keyword target, logos you want to get into, whatever it is, narrow it down to what it is and find 20 to 50, not 500, 20 to 50 target agencies that you believe also want that thing. Then get your creative hat on and come up with something you think you can spearhead. You're going to have to spearhead it. You don't tell them to come up with the idea. You don't tell them to do something for you. You come up with the idea, go down that list of 20 to 50 and propose the idea, show them really clearly what it is and how they're going to get benefit from it. Offer to get on a call to explain more. And if you have a tech partner you think could support it, a really close tech partner, go to that tech partner before the outreach starts, tell them what's going on. If they would like to come with you in that campaign, have them bring share numbers, meaning they'll post it on their accounts, they'll share it in their newsletter, potential guest post with whoever's involved. It's a case study, it's a white paper, it's whatever. They're going to post it on their blog as well, or money. They're going to sponsor it. I'll leave it back to you, and then I can answer questions in chat if anybody has them on that.
No worries.
Anything on you?
I think where we were was what types of agreements to sign and when. I think I already covered this. Typically, after that first partner discovery meeting, if there is a mutual buy-in and that interest in moving forward, it's probably a good time at that point in the relationship to formalize the relationship. I think it is a good practice to either have an MNDA in place or have a standard MNDA clause as part of your ongoing partner relationship that includes, the governing law, the severability, the confidentiality, the fact that they'll return any materials and collateral, the severability, what if at any point, how is there an out, right? You want to make sure, again, it's mutually beneficial. And if it isn't working, and if for whatever reason, especially if you're two service-based agencies, perhaps over time offering competing services, maybe you try and worst case scenario, things don't work out. You want to make sure there's an easy out for either or both parties involved. I think it's great to have those types of agreements in place, basically as soon as you decide to actually move forward with the partnership. And then we also, on that note, white labeling versus referral only, that also determines what type of agreement you're going to have, right? If you are doing referral-based partnership, you might only have a referral agreement in place. If you've decided to do referral in some scenarios and white label in others, you might have both agreements in place. To give you an example of when that might come into play. So for example, if you're two agencies partnering together, you offer some overlapping competing services and there is some differentiators in what agency A offers and agency B offers, you might have a referral relationship in place when agency A wants to refer clients directly to agency B. When they're, just so we're all on the same page, if they're referring a client, they're making a warm introduction and then agency B is taking it from there, right? Agency B is going through their standard operating procedure, although they might have contingencies for if the partner lead source is a respected agency partner to sort of skip some of those steps in the sales cycle, like I mentioned. But generally speaking, agency B then has a direct one-to-one relationship with the end client or customer, right? Whereas that's what would happen in a referral capacity. Whereas in a white label capacity, typically agency A has an existing relationship with an end client. They then engage agency B, whether the end client is aware or not, to fulfill some of the items that they are looking to fulfill for that client. So that's a more common white label agreement. Oftentimes it's part of a bigger engagement. And oftentimes the existing agency of record has a longer term contract in place with the end client and has an ongoing relationship. And they might just need agency B to come into the picture to handle either something they don't typically do, or like I said, they might have bandwidth issues. It's a very interesting time in the world right now with the great resignation and all this job hopping. So there might just be a personnel related issue. And maybe just for a shorter term period, they need support from their agency partner to fulfill a specific part of this ongoing contract. Some agencies let their end client know if they're bringing in a white label partner, others do not, which is why it's white label, right? The end agency who's fulfilling the service is fulfilling it on behalf of the agency of record. And oftentimes agencies want to have a white label type relationship, especially if they're a little wary. If it's a new agency partner, perhaps, and they don't yet have that trust or rapport, they might want to own that end relationship and manage all communications to the end client so that they can maintain that relationship going forward. One cautionary potential pitfall to be aware of, especially in a service-based business like marketing and the agency world, services are extremely subjective, right? And oftentimes, especially when it comes to creative, clients have feedback, and sometimes the feedback is coming in real time. They want changes or adjustments made to campaigns. If you don't have a good cadence of communication between the two agency partners, you don't ever want to end up with a broken game of telephone where the client tells agency A something about something they want changed or tweaked. They relay this information secondhand to agency B. The creatives at agency B make these adjustments. They send it back to agency A, who sends it back to the client. And then the client's like, that's not what we said or described. So oftentimes documentation is important. Similarly, the structure and layout. That's also how, for example, agency A might invite the partners at agency B to those calls directly with the client, so they can ask questions. They do have that direct line of communication to the end client. So all just logistics that you want to consider when you are actually implementing the services that you are engaging with the client on to ensure they are getting excellent results in real time, in a timely manner, and you can avoid any potential negative experience for any of the three parties involved. So just things to think about. I understand we have a question about how to deal with non-competes. Are we talking about non-competes specifically for agency talent, hopping agency to agency, because we mentioned the Great Resignation, or are we talking about non-solicitation clauses so that one agency partner doesn't go after another agency partner's client?
Yeah. Non-solicitation would be in any way that you've seen it, really just what have you been asked for and what have you said yes to related to non-solicitation?
Sure. Yeah. So typically it's just a simple clause in an existing partner agreement that you want to make sure that your colleagues across the board are not soliciting existing clients of agency partners you are working with. Of course, there could be an exception if that client unrelated reaches out to your agency, then you're obviously not soliciting them. But this is also a key piece as to why process and procedure is so important. And that education piece that I mentioned, being the internal champion and evangelist for your partners. Because, for example, if one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing, this is when you can run into bumps in the road. And again, you want this to be a win-win-win. You don't ever want to be stepping on your agency partner's toes. You don't want to get between them and their client, because then there goes that partnership, right? Whereas this could be a long, lucrative partnership long-term, which should never be. You shouldn't ever have that short-sighted mindset to perhaps go after or steal one client. You want to have a long, fruitful relationship for both agencies and the client involved so that there is that mutual trust and benefit to everyone involved. So that is why it's extremely important that your partner team ensures your sales team is aware who your agency partners are, who all of your partners are, and who their clients are. So they know not to solicit any of their current clients and not to step on anyone's toes. That's also why if you have a handoff form from, let's say, one agency partner to the other agency partner, to the sales team who takes them through discovery, to the client success team, to the service team that are doing the day-to-day management of that account, you want to make sure it very clearly indicates who the partner is who referred this client and what services they are providing for that client. So for example, if we know this is a web development agency that referred a client to us for marketing services, we also offer web development. So we have to have in big, bold letters, all caps, whatever it's going to take, this referred to us by this web development agency partner. Do not bring web development into any conversation with this client. Right? So if there is an optimization that's potential, instead of saying something offhand to the client when you think you might be helpful, but you might be actually stirring up something inadvertently, you go back to your agency partner and you say, hey, we were, implementing this campaign for the client. We noticed there was a pixel missing on this page. Let your agency partner shine. Give them the heads up. Let them be the hero. Let them fix the problem, and then go back to their end client and say, hey, we fixed this for you. Now your media campaigns with Hawke Media are going to perform even better, and your pixel is placed and everything's working well, firing on all engines. So that's sort of that win-win-win, that I mentioned. I would say, make your partner the hero if you can.
Make them famous.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good plug for the podcast.
Yeah. Plug for the podcast. I did plug Partner Hub as well, because we have a feature coming out where you're going to be able to sort the agency directory by services, headquarter location, and vertical. But I just put into the backlog that you're going to be able to search by partners of as well. So you can find each other. If you're a user of Partner Hub, you can find Ashley in there, or people that you don't know, and then open their profile and just click request partnerships. That will help you guys find and activate partners super quick, because everybody's users of Partner Hub anyway, and that's the reason they're in there. So it covers most of the conversation. Okay, so non-competes covered that. Let me just go through the list here real quick and make sure that we did cover everything we promised to cover. And while I'm doing that, please chat any questions that you guys have. If you have something, Ashley, say it now. Otherwise,
yeah. And on that note about Partner Hub, what's so fantastic, and we didn't mention this because we didn't talk about the partner team structure too much, but Geo is a great way to split up your team, right? Whether you're doing it by sub vertical, whether you're doing it by partner type, or the type of partnership you're having, right? You might have a partner manager that only manages technology partners or only manages agency partners, or you might split it by Geo. You might have a partner manager that focuses on the Midwest or EMEA or APAC or the West Coast or the East Coast or all of the above. Or you might even have a partner manager that focuses on white label partnerships or referral partnerships or reseller partnerships. So that is also something you're going to want to think about strategically when you are setting up your team, to make sure it's always very clear who is responsible for what. Because again, you want to be getting back to your partners in a timely manner. Because if you think about it, as a partner team or a partner manager, those are your customers. Your partners are your customers, right? And you want to take great care of them.
Oh, yeah, I like that. And then on the Geo side, a great strategy is if you're coming into the US or you're going abroad, start with the partnership strategy in that country first. So if the agency has an OKR to open up Brazil, right, this year for whatever reason, you want to stick the partnerships strategy on Brazil first. Get yourself a nice group of partners in Brazil that can help you with new client business there. Strike up the relationships, contracts, all the stuff, get that laid out with the promise. Could be a 1-year non-compete where they are the exclusive blank partner for Brazil. That blank could be a Shopify development agency, and you send all your Shopify development there. It could be a service like SEO, or it could be just the country. Maybe it's the whole country because it's a smaller country, not Brazil, but a smaller country. That's a good strategy as well. We covered everything. Anything else, everybody that's here? Otherwise, we'll package this up with some notes, get all the links together, and the recording for you to check out later. Ashley, anything else?
No, I mean, the only thing I would say is if you're not already on Partner Hub, you should be, because that's another great way to find partners, like you mentioned, right? Especially if you're joining any sort of excellent tool that has an existing ecosystem attached to it, right? That's freaking huge. And we didn't get into it today, but thinking about and optimizing your partner tech stack over time to ensure you are delivering for your partners is a key part of scaling your partner program over time.
Yeah, and we'll post we'll add a link to a couple co-selling tools, because I did mention, and I linked to the co-selling masterclass. But that's part of it. I think the MVP stack would be document exchange, but there's free options for that. That's not an issue. Then it comes into the outreach and the actual prospect. If you're an agency, you should have this loosely covered. If you're doing any sort of sales and endeavor, you should have something to use there. But then it comes to the day-to-day management. Some people are using a ClickUp pipeline, for example, and you have your backlog of partner prospects that you've reached out to, and you have stages. That covers some of it. But then when you get into active partnerships with lots of people, the conversation around payouts and commissions. And this is what I tell my agencies, and now a lot of tech companies that are just starting partnerships as well, is, the idea of creating an affiliate platform, building out an affiliate system, and having an affiliate tracking and payouts platform. It works with affiliate products and products in general. When you try to translate that into a partner program that agencies will run, it doesn't translate well. The other aspect of that is, as agencies know, using your link to share product information, you probably don't do that often. If you're a partner of a certain tool, you'll just email your partner manager and say, hey, sign these guys up, or these guys are coming in. You don't really care about that 10% commission, whatever. So agency to agency relationships, we tell them this, like, build a relationship on a mutual focus with the intention of building business together. And then after trust is created, and as that becomes successful, if it does become successful, that addition to the pie, then you look inwards and you co-sell together on the accounts that you both work. But it's not about that to start. So focus it on that. That takes the word commission usually off the table. But of course, they're going to ask, once they do have a big project that they want to refer to you, they're going to say, okay, I've got a big project. I'd like, you to pay me out on this. Sure. Why not? Of course you want me to pay you out on that. But under that conversation, there is paying the person inside the organization, and then there's paying the organization. Those are two different things. So we tell our partner teams, have a budget to spiff out the salespeople at the organization. Ashley will tell you this too. She's like, if you can spiff my account managers that are actively on the calls with the people that we're going to refer to you, that's going to do much more for you than giving Hawke Media, who's got millions in yearly revenue, a $500 or even a $5,000 commission. Yeah, that's good. Of course, if you're talking to the CEO, if you're talking to a head of marketing, a head of sales, head of partnerships, use the spiff, $200 here, $500 there. Buy their team lunch when you do a lunch and learn. Try to not use the word commission. I think it just muddies the relationship, and then the focus changes a lot in our experience. Awesome, guys. Ashley, what should they do if they want to reach out to you and contact you about partnerships?
Absolutely. Send me a note. It's Ashley, ASHLEY, at Hawke Media with an E, HAWKE, media.com. Send me a note. Happy to hear from you. Connect on LinkedIn. Again, partnerships is all about people. Take care of the people, and happy to hear from any and everyone.